Okay, so I guess the video crashed. So here's part two of the video. I'm going to go through this rather faster now, and all the stuff will be in the description. So I will show you. I already went through all this. It's kind of funny. So those are my albums. I have concerts now. I have a lot of stuff. Van Morrison. It's kind of a shame the video got deleted, but Lukey Doob, Van Morrison, Government Mule, Warren Haynes, Mississippi's Mule, Warren Haynes stuff. Lots of concerts on here. Dire Straits. Jimi Hendrix ones aren't the best quality, but all the other stuff is. A lot of good stuff. We have favorite songs. Some of my favorite songs right here that I really like. Boom, 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 boom. Check it out. Music Matters is a music teacher. He's really good at explaining things. He explains things so well that a lot of times you'll not realize how complex what he just taught you was until you go away and you think about it, or you try to apply it to your own music, and you thought, wow, he really broke that down real simply. Then we go Authentic Sound. This guy really tries to make music sound and tries to replicate what it was intended to sound like and what it sounded like historically a long time ago around the period when it was written. Very interesting stuff. Ryan Leach, a composer who composes and has done stuff for Disney and Netflix, teaches you how to compose, and a lot of it's like cinematic kind of theatrical or just like cinematic music. So check that out if you're interested in that. Rick Beato is like a music theory, just kind of like, he just knows so much, like a really, really good teacher, top-notch teacher. He can explain so much in one video, probably more than you'd want to know, but you'll learn a lot from watching Rick Beato videos. Especially a lot of these on here are a little more complex because his older videos, which they're not old, but you see a lot of these are like from 6 years ago. His older videos were like insanely informative. You just get out a whiteboard, and sometimes you just like, it seemed like improv lessons where he just teach you a bunch of stuff that he knows. And by the end of it, you're like, wow. You're like writing all this stuff down, trying to make sense of half of it. He does not even explain a lot of stuff that he's teaching you. So that's like the funniest part. It's actually a good learning lesson because you have to sit there and try to comprehend it. Bach music. If you want to get into Bach, if you don't know about Bach, there's Bach's music. There's fugues. There's his just complete edition of Bach. French suites. I highly recommend like the Goldberg variations and the Well-Tempered Clavier Book 1 and 2. Really good. It's all really good, but it's like a starter if you don't know your Bach. I would not start in the Art of Fugue, but that's a really good piece. Probably need to get used to fugues more and contrapuntal forms of music before enjoying that to its fullest. There's Vivaldi, around the same period as Bach. Really good writer for the violin, so a lot of this is going to be violin and stringed instrument stuff. We have Haydn. There's not that much stuff there. Schubert. Good amount of stuff here. Probably add more. I really like Schubert. I was explaining that Schubert's Symphony number 3 was a huge deal for me because I've always listened to classical music, but when I listened to Schubert's 3rd Symphony, something in my brain clicked and said, wow, that is profound. I want to recreate this, or I want to listen to something like this again. I want this to be my generation. And it helped inspire me to want to write music like that. Tchaikovsky. We have a lot of stuff by Tchaikovsky. Good amount. Mozart. We have 34 videos of Mozart. A lot of these are actually pretty long too. So like Mozart symphonies and marches and wind concertos, piano concertos. Beethoven. A lot of these are pretty long too. The violin sonatas are great from Beethoven. And his symphonies. Advanced topics. This is advanced topics of music that, just kind of breaking away from the basic level stuff and kind of getting into stuff you're probably going to have to maybe write down, think about more. Review. Here's a bunch of music stuff that you can review after already knowing it. For me, it's stuff that, I can review. And then, whoa, didn't mean to do that. Then we go string section. The string section's interesting because the string section is like the face of the orchestra, basically. And there's a lot of history behind it. Don't want to get into too many areas that might be contradictory, but when I'm talking about history, it's historical. So the history of it is that there's a big deal. I'll explain it like this. The string section as a whole is a big deal because the other members of the orchestra were basically built to accompany the string section and to sound good with the string section. And also, the string section was basically built to sound good and accompany the violin. So we've looked at the very heart of the orchestra. We see that there's the violin, and the violin's also one of the most predominant players, or the most dominant players in an orchestral piece, to where you have them playing a lot of times the melody, the soprano lines, the stuff that's really sticking out, the motifs. And a lot of the times. And a lot of it has to do with just strings instruments in general, having a bow and strings and being able to play constant movements of notes and not having to breathe or not having to stop or hit in between percussive instruments or whatever it might be. The violin can play continuous melodies, and they can do a lot of stuff with the bowstring sort of technique of playing. So then what actually happens is the string section is actually constructed to accompany and sound good with the violin. So the violin's a very heart of the orchestra, basically. The other instruments in the string section, cello, viola, and even the double bass. Double bass, you can't really say as much, but they were constructed the double bass was evolved through time to sound good with the violin and accompany it. And then the wind instruments and the brass instruments were then there to help accompany the string section as well and to make it sound good. And then you have the percussion as well, which also sounds good with the... I'm so late, I feel like I missed out on a group, but whatever, you get the point. The groups in the orchestra are meant to sound good with the string section. The string section's meant to good sound with the violin. Violin's like the heart of the orchestra. Then we have the counterpoint. I have a whole counterpoint playlist. I have counterpoint videos from Bach to the Basics. I have it from Jacob Gran. I have stuff from Alan Belkin. All really good teachers. Okay, and then we get into some more stuff. We get into invertible counterpoint, tonal counterpoint, modal counterpoint, kind of random stuff. Violin pieces. I got really into violin pieces because I've been studying the violin, and I wanted to study pieces that highlighted the violin playing in kind of a virtuoso soloist technique or passages, and then with that also being accompanied with the orchestra, because what better way to learn about the violin than that? And violin concertos are a perfect example for that. So here are 67 violin concertos by basically all different artists. So you have Beethoven, you have Tchaikovsky, spelt wrong, Sibelius, Bach, Mozart, Brahms. I'll try to say all the ones that are different. Mendelssohn. We go down, we have a Bach double violin concerto, we have Shostakovich. I think I already said all of those, but we have a whole lot. Okay, we have a bunch of different things, and as it goes down, you'll see a lot more that you've never seen. Like Berg, Bruch, Wieniawski, Zimmerman, Edward Elgar, Schoenberg, Busani, Britten, okay, John Williams, the guy who does Star Wars and stuff, Jurassic Park, and a lot of other stuff too. And then the violin and piano pieces. So these are typically called violin sonatas. So a lot of times when you see the violin sonata, that means there's a violin and piano playing together. It's like not always they're accompanying one another either. A lot of times the violin will be playing, how do I word that? There is not always one accompanying the other one in the whole score. So a lot of times you'll have the violin accompanying the piano, and then they'll flip. And then the piano will be soloing, then it'll flip, and the violin will be soloing, and they'll flip parts, and they'll kind of go through that the whole song in a lot of these. Most of these, I'd say, actually. So there's your violin and piano pieces, which I call it that, but it's mostly violin concertos, as you can see. I mean, violin sonatas. Then we have symphonies. Let's see what we got. We got Haydn, we got Mozart, we got Beethoven, we got Schubert, we got Tchaikovsky, we got Grieg, we got Brahms, we got Mahler, we got Shostakovich, we got Stravinsky, we got Mendelssohn, we got Liszt, we got Rachmaninoff, we got Bartok, we got Dvorak, we got Holst, we got Berlioz, we got Debussy, we got Strauss. Boom, we got a lot of symphonies there. Check them out. We got string quartets, we got Beethoven, Schubert, Haydn, Mozart early and Mozart late. We have classical and Baroque music. If you like classical and Baroque music, or if you want to get into classical music and you don't really know where to start, you don't know your classical music, we'll play this here. We got Paganini. We got Richard Strauss. We got Rachmaninoff. We got Sibelius. We got a lot of stuff here. We got Liszt, Handel, Chopin. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've never been able to pronounce it correctly. Bartok, Schubert, Shostakovich. So much stuff. Brahms, Haydn, Tchaikovsky, Stravinsky. You see in nature do it. But a lot of stuff. Nonetheless, here is my created playlist. So you'll see a lot of other stuff I'm not mentioning in this video. Random things too, working out. Random things. So, check it out. You'll find a lot of stuff. I should mention the Let the Good Times Roll playlist, which is my Jerry Garcia Grateful Dead playlist with 1.100 videos. Really good. Then we have my save playlist, which is basically, I kind of give you a glimpse of what it already is, but it's a whole lot of stuff. First of all, you have music lessons. So like here we have 15 Inventions by Bach. So we have a student edition of music analysis. We have 15 Symphonies by Bach. We have a student edition and the music analysis. And in the beginning we have the regular version. All played for you on the staff too that you can see. Notebook for A.M. Bach and the analysis. Notebook for W.F. Bach and analysis. 9 preludes and analysis. 5 preludes analysis. 6 preludes analysis. Lots of stuff. Rolling Thunder review, Bob Dylan. Netflix videos. I guess it was on Netflix or something. Pretty cool. Octatonic scales, triadic transformative theory, whole tone scale, music forms, creating modal sounds, medieval music theory, bunch of random stuff by Deciphering Music and Guitar Theory. This guy has posted like 10 million videos. I have no idea how. And then there's Hilary Hahn, Violin Sonatas, Wildflowers and All the Rest by Tom Petty. Some playlists that I actually made. And then we have Untitled and Unissued by Birds, a bunch of stuff. But basically, if you want to find your albums, there's like a near unlimited amount of music on this. So, and I post on this all the time. So if you do somehow catch up and are able to listen to all this, then there's going to be a lot more by the time you finish this. That's added to it. Okay? And we're done. So there's part 2 of the video. Crashed for some reason, so it's supposed to be 1 video, turned into 2. Things happen for a reason. So, cool. I hope you have a jolly good evening. Good night.